Also, we're nervous, so
why
everybody laugh
don't you
and tell us
define
it's good.
transcendentalism?
Wait, no, I was going to have you do it.
Welcome to Dating History, a podcast where we profile historical men like modern bachelors.
We figure out who's a green flag, a walking red flag, or weird.
Or just plain weird.
The third option.
I'm Analisa Burns.
I'm Katie Massey. And today, our first victim / subject is
Henry David Thoreau.
HDT himself. So let's get into a little bit about him, his profile, if you will. Who was Henry David Thoreau, Analisa?
He was one of the most prominent, famous authors of all time. Transcendentalist thinker. Mm-hmm. Transcendentalist thinking meaning, it was the movement. Everybody knows what that means.
You guys know.
Come on.
Do we even need to say?
Do we even need to say? Do we even know what it means? Do you?
What it means is they were sort of encouraging maybe a little bit of separation from being so tied to the church. Mm-hmm. They believed in a lot of unconventional things like women should vote.
I know, crazy.
Weirdos. And then like experimental ways of living, which led him to his big act. But first, importantly, he was born on July 12th, 1817 in Concord, Massachusetts. Go Sox. And he was a Cancer. Whoa.
He was a Cancer.
He was a writer, philosopher, amateur naturalist, part-time teacher. And what would you say his claim to fame is?
Walden. He built a cabin in the woods and he went out there for God knows how long. He put himself out there, bored to death, and he went out there and he wrote Walden. And that is his claim to fame.
So he was out on Walden Pond for 2 years.
2 years.
He starts Walden the essay by saying that he's a mile out of town. Historians have corrected it to say that he was half a mile, which is like the equivalent of us being at like the Silver Lake Reservoir and walking to Trader Joe's. Like it's under a 30-minute walk. So it wasn't really like in the middle of nowhere like he made it sound, but
I do love that he was dramatic about it.
That's the thing about HGT is he's so relatable.
Oh my gosh. He's a Cancer.
He's a Cancer through and through. Here's what I love about him though. Can you imagine your gap year being this important? Like that's essentially what it was. Also,
he went to Harvard.
He went to Harvard. It's not going to be chronological.
It just gets worse. He
went to Harvard. He was kind of over it though. He didn't think that it was a good place. He was like very critical of the school.
So what do you think of that though? Feeling like he's too good for the best, the best private school in like the world. Thinking he's the best, too good for Harvard. That's
so
crazy.
My issue with this is that I think that's hot. I had to do some like self-examination as a result of this because I was like, what is it about me that thinks that being unimpressed is like a desirable trait? But what do you think about it? Because your face is giving that you think it's snobby.
Well, I think it's snobby. I think I am infamously love pretentiousness. I think it's totally fine and applicable when appropriate. However, in this particular situation, he had no reason to be pretentious yet. He did when he died when he was like 44. Yeah. So he earned it with his books and his crazy little roundabouts and all his writing. But at the same time, I knew a guy in college once who got into no Ivy Leagues, but he got into UC Berkeley. Mm-hmm. And he was so angry that that's the only school he got into that was like prestigious from his perspective. Ugh. And he hated it. And he was so critical of that school when that is just like one of the best schools in the world. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, who was he to feel like he's better than a school? And I think at that point, he had not earned that, like,
do you think
credibility.
It's an age thing? Like, you earn pretentiousness by getting older? Or do you think it's, like,
I think
an accomplishment?
What was he, 16 when he got into... How... Was it different?
HDT? Yeah, he was probably, like, 17 or 18.
When he got into college?
Yeah, probably. You think he's dramatic?
Well, he is dramatic.
I will say that I told my parents that we were doing an episode about Henry David Thoreau. Like, I told them that we were recording this today, and they were like, ugh, he's the worst. I think what's funny
Like,
about
it's-
Walden and what's so interesting about it is this like impulse to go off into society and to sequester yourself from everybody else, and then also be like, guys, I wrote about it. That's what's interesting.
That's
It's the like
crazy.
I'm going away. I'm going off into the woods. Don't mind me. And then it's kind of like vlogging your like retreat to a monastery. It's like, what if you just did that and we didn't all hear about it?
Yeah.
A couple things about him. So when he went out to Walden, he built his own house, and this ultimately is the most appealing thing to me, is that he built the house.
That's the only thing I respect about this man. That he built his own house. It's the only thing that's respectable.
Also he made furniture. Henry David made furniture, and I was thinking about it, that if it was 2025, 100% that would be on his Hinge profile, like the chair that he made.
The pictures
The
of it.
pictures. I think he's very into like reporting his life, but maybe not, and like the idea of things, but maybe not living it. So let's get into his dating history a little bit, because it's very quick and easy to discuss.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm about to say?
About Ellen, yeah.
About our girl Ellen. So Henry David
Smart
loved
girl.
one woman in his whole life.
And of course she was smart.
And of course she was smart. She was a geologist.
Of course she was better than him.
It girl. But the story behind it is crazy, because she showed up for a summer. She went to hang out for a summer at the Thoreau household. She hung out with Henry and his older brother. Both of them fell in love with her.
This is good.
And then the older brother ran down the beach one day and proposed to her. She was like, my preacher, or at least very religious father, you are not going to be good enough for him. Your beliefs are a little too lefty. You don't seem like you're going to make enough money. She turned him down. Couple months later, Henry wrote to her proposing marriage. He had no idea that his brother had proposed. And he also proposed to her, and that's why men should talk about their feelings with each other. So she said no to him too.
Can you believe that they're like brothers and they don't even talk about like when they have feelings, like let alone when they're about to propose? I was talking to at one point a few guys on Hinge, like
They were brothers.
casually. Yes, and I won't say who, but they were famous. They were Nepo Baby brothers.
Oh, I know who they are.
Yeah, I think I
Like, give it away.
can't say it. But I was like on Raya. I was texting
I know
both
who
of
they
them,
are.
and I knew they were brothers. But they were both talking to me for months, and as a bit, I let it go on forever. And of course, that's different.
Yeah, so that's what happens, is that you end up proposing to the same girl, or at least talking, the 2025 equivalent, talking to the same girl in Raya.
And Ellen, her mentality was just like, she was just like, these guys are not good enough for me. This family's not good enough for me.
I think she actually was a little bit more down bad for Henry, but it was
She
like, I
was.
already set the precedent that I said no to your brother. I can't now say yes to you. And then he never dated again.
He never dated again,
That was it.
which is,
20 more years he was alive, never dated again.
I think he just was like a weirdo. I think he didn't need it. I think he was so in love with the woods and himself and his books and I don't know what he sees, barley soup, whatever he was doing on his free time. What was he eating?
He has a whole chapter about beans.
Exactly. Barley is a grain. He was eating beans and barley. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he wasn't eating much. I think the biggest thing about Henry, that because he's got these like gorgeous lefty politics. At one point he says a corporation does not have a conscience, which I'm dating a guy
He
who's
had
like,
the privilege to do that.
yes. And also no
He didn't
kids makes
have
it
to
easy.
work.
Yeah. And then the other thing is like dating somebody who's sure that they're crushing it seems worrisome to me.
Exactly. He was sure he was crushing it, and arguably he crushed it because he was convinced he did. Because he thought,
so true.
yeah, he had the confidence. He thought he was a star. He thought he was a winner. So he went into it being like, I'm the shit. I'm a big boss. He hyped himself up for years.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
And now 200 years later,
When you
his cabin, a replica of his cabin stands.
I truly believe if you hype yourself up that much, people will start to believe you. Because if you don't shut up about it.
And with that being said, Dating History is actually the #1 podcast right now, worldwide.
It's topping Spotify's charts. It is.
I will say that it makes
We don't
sense.
even need advertisements.
I will say that when I found out that Henry David Thoreau was 28, it felt like everything made sense. I was like, oh, that's why he is the way he is.
Can I say 28? One of the worst ages for a man to be. Arguably.
Name some good ages.
Name some good ages. 21. I love a 21.
You can't immediately go 7 years younger. That just makes it sound like you're into children.
I'm not talking about to date. I'm talking about as a person.
Right.
Personal growth. They're about to like crash and burn. They're about to just go downhill for sure at 21, but they don't know it yet.
Wait, can I say something offensive to men? It shocked me how fast they lose their hair. I felt like it went...
This is good.
I felt like it went from they're 14, their voices haven't dropped, Every one of your mom's friends is like, oh, there's an era where young men, and they're talking about like not teenagers anymore, but young guys. And I was like, okay, we're going to make it through. The voice is cracking and the like, you are 9 feet tall, but the same body weight as me. Like, I'm up for all of that. I'm riding the wave. But you go from like voice cracking, voice puberty to them. Oh, they hit another growth spurt when they're 19. And you're like, wait, I've been the same size since I was 13. Anyway, they hit another growth spurt when they're 19. And then you're like, okay, cool. And then they sort of grow into themselves. And that stage lasts 2 weeks. Yeah. And then they start losing their hair.
I agree. Can I tell you something really tragic, though?
Yeah.
So this is just a little tangent. My ex-boyfriend and I had a tragic breakup 3 years ago. This is a lot. I had a tragic breakup 3 years ago, and I quickly got over this relationship because every picture that was posted of my ex, he was wearing a baseball cap. So I assumed the best. I assumed that he was balding. I did. And then, so for like 2 years, I thought this guy was balding, and that really helped me get over him.
Huge things.
It was doing huge things for me. Recently, I see a picture of him, full head of hair. He looks great.
He could have gone to Turkey. You don't know.
He didn't go to Turkey. I know he didn't go to Turkey. His hair looks great. All the work I've done, 3 years. Are you right back there? Right back. I miss him because he's not bald.
Can I just say a couple things? My pitches for him: built a house. At least read 5 to 6 languages. Hot. Okay. So I'm hearing hot. Super lefty politics.
Which languages, though?
Such a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Really good lefty politics. And I don't remember where I was going with this. But all of those things to me are appealing and cool.
Okay, so he built a house. So you're pro Henry.
I'm like, no. So what I was going to say is that I think Henry would have ruined my life.
What would have happened?
I would have met Henry. We would have talked at a social gathering in town. I never would have seen him again. And my friends would have had to hear me talk about him for 2 years. And I would have been like, where is he? And they would have been like, we don't know. And the answer would have been in the woods a mile away from town. Half a mile. Anyway.
That's good. That's good. I think what would happen with me and Henry is we'd go on a date.
Yeah.
I'd be smitten on the first date. I'd be super excited about it. We go on a second date. I'd smell it from a mile away. I'd smell the bullshit.
Yeah.
I would. Because it is a lot of bullshit. With all due respect. I would smell what he has going on. And then I would back away slowly and climb up a tree like I saw a bear. But yeah, no, I don't think I would have done it. I think I would have gone on a date with him, maybe 2, and then he would view my stories on Instagram for the next 10 years, and I'd just be like, that's weird.
You know what I really admire about his little like writing retreat, and you were talking about this, is like, imagine thinking that the thoughts that you have are it's the first time they've been thought. Like, you got to get your thoughts down on paper because it's the first time someone's ever said it quite that way. Yeah. And I think in 2025, we all can see each other's thoughts all the time. And so there's no, like, it's hard to believe that what you're thinking is original or fresh, and it's probably not. And his idea of like, I've got to go write several hundred pages of my own genius thoughts, I find both so repulsive and so unrelatable, and also, dare I say, so inspiring, that I'm like, what? But also I think that that's a time thing. Like, I think even guys now wouldn't be able to do that. At the very least, he's like writing something. You know how many like lefty guys there are now who have these thoughts and could talk to you about it at a party and aren't putting any effort into it and aren't saying anything.
True.
So I'm like, at least he wrote something. I guess at least he did homework.
There are two things that I disagree with slightly, or at least I've had a different experience with.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing is that men don't actually write now. They write too much. They do. From my experience, they write too much. All my male friends, a lot of guys I start dating, can I send you my screenplay?
You're like, no, I
Don't send me your screenplay. I'll say yes, because what else am I supposed to say? So they'll send me a screenplay as they do. I'll be like, of course, yeah, I'll read it. I'll give you notes. I'll give you great notes. You know, I went to school for that. I went to film school. I'll get their screenplay. What do? ChatGPT. What is this about? And then
Wait, Analisa.
Are you kidding me?
No, you don't. You put the guys that you're dating, you put their screenplays into ChatGPT to get a summary. Do you know how long it takes to read a screenplay? Max an hour. Max an hour. You put it into ChatGPT.
That's an hour where I'm at Pilates. I'm getting my nails done. Are you kidding me?
Out film broing film bros. You're
I know.
More douchey than
And
film
isn't
bros
that
themselves.
really fucking cool? I'm not kidding about this. I've told my roommates. I have so many.
That's crazy.
I'll
Pimps.
just drop that in ChatGPT. Yo, chat. What's this about? Yo,
God,
chat.
please.
What is this
Oh my
about?
God.
Yo, chat. Can you send me
Are
some
you
notes?
actually writing yo chat in
Yeah, I
all
do.
of these?
You should see it.
Is that how you talk to your chat GPTs?
I have asked
yo
chat.
chat.
Chat helps me respond to some of the messages guys send me.
Oh my God, we're so doomed as a society.
Oh,
Henry David Thoreau would be so horrified.
No.
Not that people were too
This is
connected
why
to
him and I
their
wouldn't-
plows, let alone robots that will answer our texts for us.
he
Oh
wouldn't
my
fuck with me. Henry David Thoreau, he'd know it's chat. He'd be like,
Yeah.
he totally chat GPT.
He
this.
would.
And you know what? I couldn't care less. Every single guy, oh my God, these notes are amazing. Yeah, because they're chat. They're
Wait,
the
you're
computer.
giving them notes on You're giving them notes on their screenplay that ChatGPT made. Wait,
It's all technical stuff. So here's the thing. If you're a female friend of mine and you have sent me a screenplay, a script, anything.
You printed that shit out.
Yeah.
yeah.
I printed it out. I put it on my wall, highlighted it. I used 8 different pen colors
Right.
to annotate
You
that
started
shit.
adding little tabs so that
Yeah.
you could find it more easily.
I read it twice.
Right,
I read
right.
it 3 times
Right.
maybe.
Different times
if
a
it
day,
was good, even
different
if it was
moods.
bad. And yes, I've read bad things that women have written and good things men have written. But at the same time, if a man, like, it's not, I'll tell you why. 90% of the time, if I'm getting a screenplay, if I'm getting a piece of writing from a man, it is about something about robots.
Climbing. Oh.
Robots climbing, some young 11-year-old boy trying to find himself. It's always the same trope, the same narrative. It's nothing interesting. No, I want to read about a ballerina.
Wait, I felt like for a while all screenplays by men were about like a Swedish explorer.
Yo, you nailed
And
it.
it was like him versus the elements. That's the and I was like, I don't want to do that, let alone watch it.
Sometimes I feel bad before dropping it in ChatGPT, but then once ChatGPT be like, okay, so this is actually about like a young 12-year-old boy who gets lost in Peru and like meets a tribe and like they save him. I'm like, oh yeah, thank God I didn't read that. Thank God I didn't waste 20 minutes of my time reading. Anyway, so basically I think men are writing too much. Arguably.
And it all started with Henry David Thoreau.
I couldn't care less. See, that's the thing. Yes, they are. He did think that he had those thoughts. And I still think to this day, there are several men, several people who think their thoughts and
Are
their
new and
writing,
fresh.
their art, it's not necessarily new or fresh, but they think they're going to say it better, do it better than anyone else. And it doesn't matter whether or not it's been done before. They think they have to do it for the sake of humanity.
I sort of feel the exact opposite of
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah, except it's not good for your career when you're like, I could sit my whole life out, you know? But I feel like why... Anyway, I'll talk to a professional about that. But
Well, we are on a couch at the end of the day.
Something you and I both agree on, though, about Henry David Thoreau is that he's the kind of man that you would see reading his own tweets. You'd like turn over and be like, what are you looking at on your phone? And he'd just be reading and laughing at his own tweets.
He would be. I will say I do the same thing all the time. I've been at a party being like, guys, look at this crazy tweet about salad I did the other day. It's got 10 likes. I'll whip out my phone.
One time when I was in college, I saw a guy reading his own tweets, and I was like, and
I'll drop it. I'll drop my Twitter handle. Guys, drop my tweet. It's my tweets are fantastic. Sorry, continue what you're saying.
No, I was just gonna say that I had the experience one time of seeing a guy read his own tweets, and I was like, I don't actually ever need to talk to you again.
Like I said, 90% of the time, I won't read their tweets.
Okay, so what are some other examples of guys that you think Henry, not that, but what are some other examples of like a modern day version of it? Because you have some funny ideas about it.
A van life guy.
Right.
For starters. Can you see it or what? He's got a Mexican blanket in the van on the seat. He's got a Mexican blanket that he got where? At Pottery Barn when they had a Cinco de Mayo themed week. And
I think he got it secondhand. I have too much faith in him. Keep going.
You have too much faith. So he's a van life guy. He's grew up very privileged, and he is going to just go try and seclude himself. This is a theme with Henry, making his life harder than it needs to be.
Yes, that's true.
Making his life, going out into the woods to force yourself to be alone and away from everybody for what? For self-discipline? Why? Life is hard enough as it is. Are you kidding me?
I will also say it feels like a very male instinct to make life randomly and unnecessarily harder for yourself. And to me, I'm like, this is somebody who has never experienced menstrual cramps.
That I agree with that in the sense that, I think women don't try to make their lives harder with like weird, like, oh, like I love a cold shower kind, like the cold shower guys. You know what I'm talking about? A lot of guys I know, or modern men, will suffer from something called death anxiety, where they're always thinking about death and they're obsessed with the concept of it. And it's because they don't have anything called anything else. They don't have something called anything else anxiety. Like if I'm walking down the street at night.
Anything else.
Yeah, so I'm walking down the street at night. What am I thinking about? I am terrified I'm going to get harassed. I have my pepper spray in one hand, my keys between my fingers in the other hand. And then there's a guy walking on the other side of the street, totally fine, normal guy. He's walking down the street. What is he thinking about? Oh, have I done enough with my life? Have I done enough with my life? What's going to happen to me when I die? All this stuff that's unnecessary.
Incels are going to hate us so much.
And I can't wait. Bring it on. That's another type of guy I think Henry could be today. A spiritual, like, hippie, like, guru.
Like Jay Shetty.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. It's just somebody who goes out and, is drinking raw milk. Somebody who's drinking,
raw milk.
No, exactly. It's the type of guys who drink raw milk, who eat beef tallow. Not that I don't do that. And have, like, the seashell necklaces and have, like, leathery tan skin. Mm-hmm. And they're always on the beach and they're always talking about being connected. You know what I'm talking about.
I also think he's just sort of like
the Venice Beach hippies.
Yeah. I think he's sort of committed to the like ways in which life, like, I think that he writes a lot about the idealistic versions of life and what it can be like. And I think that sometimes people, and particularly young men, think that they are being pretentious solely and that other people who are not being pretentious can't be. That they're like, that they can't think in the ways that they're thinking. Like Henry David Thoreau writes a lot being like, talking about the time that he has to think all of it and about how other people are just like so busy with their lives, which is true. Like he has
busy
a lot of time on his hands. Right. And he says that. But I also think that sometimes people think that other people aren't like engaging in this like highbrow conversation because they're incapable of it, when really those people are just opting out because they don't want to seem like assholes.
I completely agree.
I think that one of the good things about HDT is that he was worried about the environment, and that was all very cool. But so like pro cared about the planet, con,
what do you do about it?
Like would be weird about you throwing yourself a birthday party, you know?
But what did he do about the environment?
He actually took, so the freaking problem is that I went in too deep and now I have the answers to all these questions. He took like very specific measurements around Walden Pond, and they've been used as a like comparison point as climate change worsens, so that because we can go back and look at his measurements and say like, look, this is what it was like for 2 years during
So he measured his pool. That's it. What else did he do?
He measured like the pond and like all the stuff around the pond.
I bet he was taking long ass showers. I bet he wasn't remembering his bags.
In the water. But that's the other thing that I find unrelatable about his writing is that he's like, yeah, I'm just drinking from the pond. And I'm like, you're not worried about what's in the pond?
Well, he died at 45.
Yeah, but from tuberculosis.
From the algae in the pond. Where does it come from? Where does tuberculosis come from?
That's what we need John Green on the episode for.
Tuberculosis is a myth.
He just wrote a book called Everything is Tuberculosis.
Here's what I'll say.
Tell me.
Men now are like, when they're 28, 29, they're like, I'm so young. Why would I think about having a girlfriend? Why would I think about proposing? Why would I think about settling down? 28, 29. Mm-hmm. I'm so young. I still have so much life to live. Whereas I feel like 20 years ago would be like, oh, well, I'm hitting 30. Time to get married.
Yeah, because then they have 10 years left.
Exactly.
One thing about him, though, a slight sidebar, that I just want to say while we rip on men, is it's not that he's not a gorgeous writer, all of these things. It's that I think across the board, like gorgeous in writing.
Yeah, because I mean, come on.
It's that women and most people don't like having things explained at them.
No.
And that his writing reeks of like him explaining his own thoughts at people.
And he wrote it when he was 28.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
It really does make sense. It's such a 28-year-old voice. It was very much like, I know everything, I'm going to tell you everything, I'm helping everyone. He really treated his own piece of writing like it was a gift to the world.
Can I say, though, the only thing that's worse than a guy who writes is the guy who wants to write but doesn't. Like, I would rather that it was him writing and putting it down on the page, because we could look at it as like he's saying all this is so annoying, but he's not saying it. He's like going off, he's putting all his thoughts down on the page. The worst thing, and they're everywhere, is guys who have always thought of themselves as a writer and don't have a word to prove it. So they do all their writing at you from the hours of like 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. when they're like, I want a girlfriend for the night. Here's all the ideas for the things I could write, but they're not writing any of them. And they're not doing any of the discipline that like shows you that they're committed to it. So on the one hand, I'm like, well, at least he's writing all of it, because there's so many dudes who like think of themselves as writers, have really active notes apps in their phones, who like could write you a nice text, who are smart enough that they like can like say the right thing to you, but they're not actually applying that. So I'm like, hey, there's a printed book for that. Good job, Henry.
So get a little more into this thing you're talking about, this nighttime girlfriend, nighttime boyfriend thing. You said from the hours of 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. they're expressing their creative abilities over text.
Have you had the experience? To be clear, I do think that both / all genders, I think that everyone is capable of doing this, where people not only want to hook up with somebody, but it's like everyone wants to be in control of their love lives, and they want the experience of having a partner, but only in the sort of time of day and only in the time of the week that they have cordoned off. Ooh. And I think that can be true for anybody, but I definitely think that it's enough of an epidemic that it's like, not only do I want to hook up, it's like I want to, watch a show together, and I want to start to build inside jokes, and I want to do, and I also think it is a little bit for people who are younger. Like I felt like in college, something my friends would talk about a lot is guys really treating you like an important person, but only in certain times of the day, only when they had, they couldn't carry that consistency across the board. And again, that can be true for anyone, but I do think that that's a theme. And I think 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. are the times that you have your like important conversations. You get into the like deep talk, and that's if somebody who's like, I've always had this screenplay inside of me that I've been meaning to write. It's like, great, and now I'm so glad that I like literally the only thing worse than a dude with a screenplay is a dude who's been meaning to write a screenplay.
Interesting. I think I come across the ones that have written too many, the ones that should be writing less screenplays. But I kind of agree with you. I think it's good to write, to let it out, to execute.
I
do. No, I fully agree with you. I think all men want a girlfriend every day, every Sunday from 2 p.m. to 10 to 11 p.m.
Just on Sundays?
Just
It's so funny.
Sundays.
I want to be so
Every
left alone
man
on a Sunday.
wants a girlfriend.
All the shit that I've been meaning to do all week is fine. I finally have to deal with. No
Men
one
have
talked to me on
nothing
Sunday.
to do on a Sunday, I'll tell you
I don't think that's true.
They got nothing going on. I
don't think that's true.
So, I think, to summarize, Henry David Thoreau, from my standpoint, was just absolutely obsessed with his own creativity, obsessed with his own words and his writing. He built a cabin far away in the woods. He goes back there, and what is honestly going on is, yes, his family is helping him. His family was helping him.
His family was not that well off.
They were not money.
Oh, but helping him. Yeah.
Like, he was going into town. Like, Henry David Thoreau being in the woods by himself, just toughing it out, is a myth. He was getting a lot of help from people. Yeah. He was going into town a lot. People brought him food. He wasn't making his own barley soup.
At the very least, he could cook. He was making his own bread.
He was making bread, but, what was he really?
I think it's more that it's just like Henry David Thoreau, the man, the myth, the legend is Henry David Thoreau, the myth, the legend is very different from Henry David Thoreau, the man. And like who he has been interpreted to be is very different from like who he actually was, which is like a guy that went out and like wrote his thoughts gorgeously over the span of 2 years and like came back for dinner pretty often. He talks about going into town listening to gossip every other day. He was there all the time.
This isn't all his thoughts. This is hot church lady gossip that he's getting.
He actually says that to philosophers, all news is gossip, which is maybe the douchiest thing. I was like, what are you talking about? To say all news is gossip?
I like that.
Oh my God. See, that's where he lost me. Is I was like, come on.
That's funny.
All news is gossip. Oh my
Objectively,
God.
all news is gossip.
Also,
is very
to self-identify as a philosopher is not a great look.
No, it's not.
If someone came up to me and was like, yeah, I'm a philosopher, I'd be like, that's really worrying for me.
Well, honey, I'm a philosopher in that case.
Well, I'm
Jesus
worried.
Christ. If he thinks he's a philosopher, I'm a philosopher too. I mean...
Wait, but can you imagine people 200 years from now like holding up the blogs you wrote at 28 and that being the thing you're famous for centuries? Like, that's what's also so crazy to me about it is I'm like, how almost random is it that it's like the people who took the time to write the thing down or not? Like, do you think there's anybody today who currently lives today who in 200 years, if society is still standing and run by human beings, we will go on visits to their houses to see where they wrote things? Like, do you think there's any equivalent of that today? Or do you think that it's sort of a scarcity thing, that it's like he was the guy who happened to be in the place who wrote it?
A huge part of it has to be a scarcity thing because, there were few people who had the time and energy to actually write everything down, write all these thoughts down. Like, just acknowledge this consciousness, this subconsciousness that was allowing him to have this free flow of thoughts. And now it's oversaturated. There's the TikTok and the Instagram and there's the internet and like 500,000 million podcasts. So people are constantly spitting out their thoughts. And so, we have a lot of people we look up to and there are a lot of amazing comedians and writers right now, but honestly, they all get lost.
That's the other thing is like this would
He was
not
the only one doing it.
But also, the other thing is that why this would be impossible is like if he really was a writer in this day and age and he went off to the woods, his reps would be calling him being like, okay, so we are going to need more content about how it's going at Walden. Could you do a daily vlog? We'd love to see a day in the life.
A day in the life at Walden.
At Walden.
Hi, I'm just going to be straining my barley to make my soup. I'm really obsessed with this image of him eating
the barley
soup. Because that's the only thing that he ate.
That's not true.
He was a freegan, right?
He was
tried to be vegetarian.
Yeah, he like supported vegetarianism, but if someone cooked him meat, he would eat it.
I respect that because that's not annoying.
Here's the thing about Henry David Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau wouldn't be a good boyfriend because he didn't want to be. No. And I think that that's the biggest thing. You can rip into anybody about any personality trait, but what comes down to being a good partner or being somebody that you'd actually date is them wanting to and them wanting to be there. He wrote one letter to one woman that he loved. She turned him down, and he never tried again. And he was purposely making himself kind of off limits, hard to reach. And those are the things that it's like, no, you could never date Henry David Thoreau because he's somebody who is not only emotionally unavailable, but who is relishing in that, who has made that his entire brand, who it's important to him to spend all of his time in his own head. And I think that that's something that you also learn as you get older is someone can be wonderful, like interesting and talented and excellent for all of these things. But they want to exist only in their own head, and they don't particularly want a neighbor there with them. And Henry David Thoreau talked about enjoying being alone more than being around other people, and that's why it's like he never would have been a good partner because you'd always kind of feel like you were bothering him.
He really loved his space, and that's something I see in a lot of men, but mainly men today who are creatives. They will they'll claim that they need space. I mean, let's be real here. Come on. And they'll claim that they need space. So like it's a therapy needing space is a therapy term that a lot of men have weaponized against women in order to get out of dealing with things. But also, like, what does he need? He needs time and space to think about what to do, like what to make for dinner, where to move, like all these things. There was some discourse with partners at the time. Let's remember, this man was single. Let's remember, this man was asexual, likely.
Maybe.
Let's just remember. But then this concept,
that's a modern interpretation of like.
Yeah, that's true. Now, nowadays, and this is something I've seen a lot, men love their space. They need to take space. And it's a very avoidant
Has someone ever said to you, I need to take space?
Like, oh my God, all the time.
To me, it just brings
Maybe it's my problem. Well, let me just explain what I mean real quick.
Yeah, tell me.
So there are a lot of guys who like will, and my female friends have told me about this, like their boyfriends will be like, I need space in a difficult situation and act avoidant and kind of
that would just egg me out because it's a cliche. And
exactly.
I'd be like, say that in a different way.
Exactly. So they would say they need space. So, which is really frustrating to me with like modern day men when they say they need to take space, because it's oftentimes for their own creative integrity. They'll say, I need to take space to work on my creative projects. Recently a guy I know said that he did not want to date somebody because he needed space to lock into his music career.
I cannot believe it.
This is true. He said he needed to he said he can't date this girl because he wanted to lock into his music career. I
cannot believe you're bringing this up.
Well, I mean, he said, I can't date someone because I need to work on my music career. There's no music career yet, by the way.
Analisa.
This is just a fact. This is my friend said this about a girl. And no, this guy, he's saying he needs space for his creative things. And this is what Henry did. He was like, I need to take space for my creative project, being in the woods. And to me, it's like, what do you need space from? Well, also, your hot girlfriend?
Yeah.
Your hot girlfriend?
Well, he didn't have one. That's part of the problem.
But in general.
Yeah.
The guy.
You know Amelia de Moldenberg, who does Chicken Shop Dates? She was talking about how she was like, there's never any place that you can't respond to a text. She was like, I've been on a red carpet at the fanciest events, most high pressure event of my career, and I've responded to a text. And that, I was like, yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
You can always respond to a text.
You have time for something. You make time for things you care about. To the end of time. And that's, you're 100%
And he made time
right.
for his writing.
He made time for his writing.
He would
cared
be
about
like,
it.
I'm
So let's
off
not
the
make
grid, and then you'd
excuses.
see him at the Trader Joe's. That's what it would be. It would be like running
Exactly.
into a guy who's like, no, I can't. I'm focusing on my music career.
But what do you think of that? I can't date you. I really like you. I would date you, but I have to focus on my film career, my project coming
I
up.
think it just sounds like an excuse. I don't think that
Yeah.
anybody would actually not date somebody for those. Like that. It just. I almost would rather
don't
somebody's
like
like,
her.
I just don't see it. Yeah. And then on the other hand,
This is
I
what
feel
this guy
sort of
did
just
all
like
over the
impressed by the like ability because if it really was like this is the perfect person, you're just walking away to focus on something. Like I guess I would be like kind of impressed. I don't know. I
don't
think
think
I've
that
done
exists.
that though. I think
You've
I've
done that?
Yeah, I think I've been like this isn't the right time for something. Like I'm kind of busy. I don't know. Women can be avoidant too.
I personally think there's never a good time for anything. And if somebody's saying I need to take space for this, that, or the other, no, they just don't like you. And Henry, he did that with the whole world, the whole goddamn town. To the whole town, he was like, I need to take space for my creative projects.
Yeah, he
Which
wouldn't
is-
be into like his significant other watching reality TV for the sake of it because he'd be like, we only have so many hours on this earth. You know what I mean?
No,
Anyway,
exactly. He
Wait,
wouldn't
so
want.
what would be the thing? So what would be the thing that like you would never interact with him at all? You would go on one date with him. You would see him from across a hall or a wood, and
This
you'd be
guy?
like,
This guy right here.
yeah, that guy right there.
Well, if this guy swept me off my feet on the first date, which we'll see, who's to say what would happen? I would probably go on 2 to 3 dates with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would be able to read that he wasn't really interested in investing in some sort of a romantic connection.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'd be put off by I'd call him out for that, and I think he'd be put off by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'd ghost me after 3 dates. I think
Really?
he'd ghost me.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think he'd ghost me, but I think he would do that with most women. Like, I don't think
You
I would
wouldn't
take
go
it
out to the
personally.
woods though, like or double text or whatever the like metaphorical equivalent is, and be like, "Hello."
I don't double text, and I don't go out into the woods looking for a guy. Those are my 2 rules.
Such good life lessons.
I wouldn't go out into the
and
woods.
stitch that on a pillow.
looking for just anybody,
Right.
especially not this guy. Like,
I do think that if I correctly identified birdsong, it'd be a lock. I'd be in.
if this guy knew all the words to most Hairspray songs from the movie Hairspray, I'm in. I'm sold.
That doesn't seem to you like a red flag or maybe a sign that he might not be interested in women.
If he likes Hairspray,
If he knows every word
of
to the
most songs
Hairspray
in
soundtrack.
he wouldn't. But in general, no, absolutely not.
We have
It's
a
fine.
mini segment really quick that I think
Let's
we
do
should
it.
do.
Let's do the mini segment.
You know you're dating a Thoreau if.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read them off, okay?
Let's go for it. So these are a bunch of signs that you might be dating a modern day Henry David Thoreau.
Perfect.
If you will.
And he invites you camping but expects you to bring all the supplies.
And doesn't know how to put up the tent.
I don't think that's fair, but okay, whatever. Makes you listen to him play guitar. That feels correct to
Yeah.
me. He treats doing the bare minimum like a revolutionary act.
Yeah. Yeah, he does his laundry once. He makes a big deal of it. I didn't
Comforter,
do his
no
laundry.
duvet. He says he's off grid but borrows his mom's Netflix. He says he's off the grid but Venmo requests you for gas money.
Yeah, he would.
Every time you have a fight, he threatens
Feminist.
to retreat to nature. His entire apartment is furnished with things he found. He insists you don't need Wi-Fi, you need stillness. He also, I'm adding one, would come around and would like chastise you for Bluetooth headphones.
Ugh.
You know?
Yeah.
They are bad for you though, in a real way. But anyway, he judges you for ordering DoorDash, but doesn't know how to
Yes.
cook. He knew how to make bread. Okay, I'm such an apologist. It's terrible. Okay, just for Henry David Thoreau, not for. Okay, anyway, you ask him about his 5-year plan, and he starts quoting Walden. His idea of a date night is silent reflection in a field. He's proud of the fact that he doesn't own a microwave or TV. and judges you for having one. He thinks doing laundry is a capitalist scam, but asks if you'll do it. He brags about not using soap or washing his hair because it's unnatural. He disappears for days and says it's because he's finding himself. His phone is always on airplane mode, not even do not disturb. Yeah. His biggest turn on is self-sufficiency, but he still crashes at his mom's house. He wears the same 3 outfits and says it's intentional minimalism. He gives his therapist advice back to the therapist during a session, if you can even get him there.
God.
All right. Well, if you are experiencing any of those things, I would say write about him, turn the tables around, and write a great book about it. Our final verdict is that Henry David Thoreau would be a great situationship, maybe like a month.
He would be
someone to talk about, you know, a learning experience. Don't you think?
I think he could be an interesting learning experience.
I think a heartbreaker. I also want to say
what?
That if anyone listening has any ideas of other men or any future or historical men and historical dates, please nominate them. I'd love to know.
Please.
It can be anybody. That. What was the last thing you were going to say?
Question.
Answer.
What do you think he would do if he was taking you on a first date?
I think it would be like a hike. Okay. I know that's such an easy answer. I think it would be like a hike. Probably. And then I think he would be like, walk. I see this tree every day and my relationship with this tree, it changes as the season. This is me, by the way. I go on the same walk every single day and my relationship with the trees there changes. So again, it would work. It would work.
What do you think of a modern day date where a guy's like, let's just go for a walk? I think it's cheap.
It depends on where the walk is.
But if they're like, let's just go to the Silver Lake Meadows and just hang out. Cheap. Let's just go to the Silver Lake Meadows with some books. No, I don't want to read.
Yeah, I agree that reading is a solitary activity.
No, I want to go get a glass of murky orange wine at a wine bar.
Some natch orange wine.
Exactly, that's what I want. I don't want to go sit at the Silver Lake Meadows and have the grass cuts on my legs.
I did go on a date quite recently where the guy said that he always proposes doing an outdoor activity because it makes him nervous to sit across from a girl and like talk to her.
Grow up.
Oh my God. I was like, that's so sweet.
Sweet?
But then he told me that he didn't vote and that was it.
Now I will say one last thing. So now on dates, guys ask interesting questions when they don't know what to say. I think sometimes a guy will try and come up with a creative question and say something weird and authentic. Like, if you could be any sea animal for the day, what would you be? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't want to have to do something that sounds like an icebreaker at like summer camp.
Exactly. Do you think he'd be doing that? Do you think he'd be like...
No, I think he would be really comfortable with prolonged silence. And then I would feel the need to fill it. Yeah. And that's where we would get in trouble. Anyway, Henry David Thoreau.
How many red flags?
Out of how many?
3 out of 5.
Yeah, 3 out of 5. I mean, look at those baby blues. I think I'd be... He looks sad, though.
He has nice eyes.
He has nice eyes.
He was sad.
He forced himself to be in the woods. If someone built a house and I saw that, I'd be pretty, like, impressed.
Okay, and then he went and he stayed in it in the middle of the woods and was talking about he needs to stay in it in the middle of the woods. I would not be impressed.
All right, well...
I'd be embarrassed for him.
Like,
I'd be like, go to the town, go to the farmer's market, go to church, make some friends.
Yeah.
Get a dog. My God, I hope he had an animal. But so, 3 red flags. Probably wouldn't be into this man.
But you'd forever follow like his sustainability Instagram, and for that you'd always be grateful.
Yeah, no, I would definitely be like, oh yeah. He does remind me to compost and stuff like that.
Right, exactly. Alrighty.
So, thank you for tuning in to our first episode of Dating History. I'm Analisa Burns.
And I'm Katie Massey.
Thank you so much. Tune in next week for an even more amazing host.
We're the hosts.
Scratch that.
Amazing subject. The hosts are staying the same. You can't get rid of us.
Tune in next week for another crazy guest that we have, who's going to be a male historical figure that we're going to just tear to shreds.
And let us know who else you want to hear about.
Yeah, let us know who you want to hear us tear to shreds.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Bye. Have a good one. Bye. Have a good one. Take care.
Hey guys, this is Katie, one of the hosts of Dating History. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm going to close us out with a final fact check. The site that Henry lived at was a half mile from the main road into town, meaning he was a 30-minute walk into town, and he does not hide this in his writing, but the idea of him being so isolated has been built up after his death. Henry was 16 when he started at Harvard. Ellen Sewell's father did instruct her not to marry the Thoreau boys, but it has not been proven that this was for specifically religious reasons. Henry did eat things other than barley soup, including bread, potatoes, rice, and occasionally proteins. There is no current research that proves Bluetooth headphones are bad for you, but Katie still thinks they are. In terms of languages that Henry knew, he was fluent in French and Latin and English, and read Greek, German, Italian, and Spanish. Katie did not actually have the right guess for who the Nepo baby brothers in Analisa's dating app story were. TB does not come from pond scum, but is transmitted by airborne droplets. And finally, athletic greens has not been proven to be a pyramid scheme. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you back for our next episode on the 27th. Bye!